Welcome everybody to Santa Fe Public School Athletics podcast number 2. Today we have an awesome episode where we're going to be going over one of our legends in Santa Fe Public Schools, Coach Ben Gomez. We're also going to talk a little bit about our community partnership program, give everybody some information on how that's working, how it's going into effect this month, and maybe even dabble into the new transfer rule. I know everybody's kind of excited about that. Coach Gomez, welcome to Santa Fe Public School Athletics podcast. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Heck of an intro, though.
A little bit of a mouthful, right?
Right, yes.
Well, Coach, before we jump into your background and just kind of hearing your story over the last 19 years and what you've done at Capitol High School, I want to talk a little bit about what you've witnessed this year and kind of bringing up the community partnership program that we're going to start this year. I know it's right after you have decided to retire, but, get your thoughts on that and then kind of move on to your career.
It's great to hear that we have people in place who are taking a passionate role in athletics here in Santa Fe, because it seems for the longest time, it's kind of like we've been on our own. Each sport has been on their own to try to do things, raise money, recruit, so on and so forth, not only site-wise, but also more importantly, community-wise. So I think you guys are stepping in and trying to start something up that's going to help athletics. I think it's tremendous. Awesome.
Yep. Well, being a coach and being mentored by you for 8-9 years of coaching at Capitol High School, we kind of went through some of the growing pains together, and we had a lot of discussions where we got to discuss those things where we thought we can improve as a district and as a school. So it helped prepare me for this position, walking into this position and knowing what we want to do going into the future. And the community partnership was one of the biggest things. Looking at all the time we spend on fundraising, that pulls you away from the X's and O's and the time you could be spending with the athletes, getting them ready, or even watching film or doing whatever it is that we need to do to get them ready for competition. I just felt going into this, we needed to take a little bit of that off the coach's plate, and the community partnership program was the best way to do it. With this community partnership program, we're looking to partner with businesses across the state. We want to be the premier Northern New Mexico athletic program that partners and provides resources for our athletes and our coaches that they don't have to spend time doing on their own. We'd like to provide their warm-up suits for them. We'd like to increase the amount we pay when we're on travel for meals. We'd like to start paying for end-of-season parties and awards and our banquets. It's really tough for a coach to have to plan those things, and that's really the goal of what the community partnership program is all about. Just taking a little bit of the burden off the coaches and allowing coaches to, focus on the X's and O's and, prepping teams to go try to win ball games.
And that's important, because the more you can take off the coaches' plates as far as allowing them just to work on X's and O's and working with your team would be a tremendous help, because as you know, as being a coach, it's like, you got to go out there and not only worry about X's and O's, you got to also worry about the grades, but you also have to worry about raising money, because the district does not give programs money for the uniforms, for whatever it is, that T-shirts. And so if the district, you guys can provide that, that's just going to take a lot of time away from raising that money and other stuff, now that the coaches can just work with the coaching staff, work with their teams, and get ready for the upcoming season. And I think an important one that a lot of people don't bring up is stipends.
Yep.
I think it's important because statewide, we're like almost dead last, if not last, as far as paying your coaches. And I think that's important, because you're not everybody's dying to get into coaching right now, because it's a tough task. It's unforgiving. You're never rewarded for it, praised for it. It just becomes another taxing on your family life, on your own personal life, on your health. And so I think raising the level of stipends for coaches would help a little bit in that regard.
Yes. And Lord willing, with the route that we're taking, and if the program works the way we're trying to get it to work, that's one of our later stages to get to. Yeah. The first part is just getting that time for the coaches, because a lot of the time you spend on fundraising takes away from family time, yes, if you think about it, because that's your off season. Instead of just doing 3-4 days a week of off season, you're really working 5-6, sometimes all weekend during those weekends you thought you'd have off for tournaments or just those fundraisers that take your time.
You better find, if you're going to get into coaching, you better find a partner, a wife, or a husband, a partner who understands the time commitment, because two things are going to happen. If you don't have a partner like that, your career in coaching is going to be short, mm-hmm, or else your relationship will fall off as well. So no, it's one of those things that you have to really balance, but you have to find the right partner who's going to understand the commitment, because you have to be committed to your players, to your coaching staff. You have to lead by example. If you want something to be done, you got to be there in front lines, making sure that's taken care of.
Yes, sir. And that kind of leads me into the next thing. I want to talk about your career, and you've kind of given us a little taste of what it is, because that's huge. What you just said is exactly what coaches go through every day. And it is tough to be a coach these days, because you can, like you said, you can do 100 things right. It's the one thing you did wrong. The one kid who didn't get in, one kid who didn't get enough minutes on the court, at bats in baseball, whatever sport it may be. Those are the ones that parents tend to focus on. And, no coach joins or becomes a coach to ever hurt a child or their progression in becoming a productive adult. Every coach their hearts are in the right place. There might be an outlier here and there that, just jerks can be everywhere, I guess. But every coach does it to help benefit those children and young adults on their journey on becoming productive adults. Is that correct, Coach?
No, it's so true. So coming from parents, you don't know how many Division I talent I've killed just because parents are just funny creatures, I've always said, because if you're winning, you're not winning by enough. If you're winning, you're not playing my kid enough. If you're losing, my kid's doing all the work, but you're not getting help for my kid. So it's always never a win-win situation. But as a coach, you got to make sure you take care of your program. Parents just want their kids, in our case, their sons, to be successful. So do we. Mm-hmm. And like I've always told parents, like I said, if your son is helping us be successful, why would I put him in the bench? Why would I keep him on the bench? Why would I not keep him on the team? And so parents and players nowadays, they don't understand that everybody has a role. Yep. Prime example, NBA, which I'm not a big fan of NBA, but the Knicks. You could break it down. Everybody sacrificed for each other for their success. Soccer World Cup right now. Argentina, everybody's sacrificing for their success. And so if you do that collectively, you will find success. But if you want to do it individually, success just doesn't find you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. You have to. It takes a team to win a team sport, yes. And sometimes I have to have those conversations with parents where I'm trying to get them to understand a coach is responsible for every player on that team. Parents are responsible for their child, and they should be their biggest advocate. They should be their biggest fan. But at the same time, that little bit of understanding that the coach has to do that for all the team. A parent doesn't have to, because if their child's not on the team, it doesn't affect them anymore. But for the coach, it affects them as long as he's coaching. Yes. Every one of those student athletes affects that coach. He's either going to have a positive influence on him or a negative influence on him, but he's around them, and he's gonna, or she, and yep. they're gonna work with each one of them. It's not one child that you're taking home and you just have to. How was your practice, Hito or Hita? What went on today? No, you have to go home, and I don't know if you talk to your wife, but I know I'd talk to my wife and I'd be like, well, I had this happen, and so it seems like he's going through this stuff, or we have this hitter in a slump, this pitcher, we need to work on this. And it was 18 kids for the varsity, and then the other 30 or 20 some kids that you're just thinking, what can I do to make them better? And for a parent, they're taking one of those kids home, right? And I don't think they always understand that. I don't think they always understand that the coach takes all of the kids home with them in his mind and tries to figure out, how can I make each one of them better? And we're not perfect. We're humans just like anyone else. So we're not always going to have the best plan for them. But we are hired to do that job, and we've been entrusted to do it. And parents, I try to get them to understand that piece when it comes to a coach.
And parents, for the most part, will not understand that. As a coach, your job is to be as successful as possible. What that means different things for different teams, different personnel, so on and so forth. And let's be honest, too. Players, just like their student athletes, are not always going to be honest with their parents.
Yeah.
They're not going to say, well, I didn't go to practice today. They're not going to say, well, I didn't go to school today. Because parents will ask them, well, how was your day? Oh, it was great. It was awesome. How come you're not playing? Coach doesn't like me. It's like, have you told your parents you haven't shown up like 2 out of 3 days that we've had practice? And that's where you have to just make sure you involve the parents. If the parents come and tell you, you got to let the parents know. It's like, your son hasn't been showing up. Were you aware of that?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't aware. So, and that's what I'm saying. When you talk to your kid, tell them to be honest. Because as coaches, we want all our kids to be successful. Like I said, if I would want all my players to play, but the game doesn't allow that. Depending on your skill sets, but you're still a valuable part of the team.
Yes, sir.
And so we can get you playing time. How is that determined? That's going to be determined in practice. Parents usually don't go to practice and see what's going on, see what we're going through, see what we're trying to instill in them over and over. And for whatever reason, they don't get to play 32 minutes.
Nope.
Very few do. But like I've always told them, be ready to play. When your number's called, show me that you need more minutes by being more productive on the court, in my case. And we have those discussions every day at practice. And so it's one of those things like, I want to play you, but you got to show me you deserve those minutes, because somebody else is earning those minutes, and it'd be an injustice to those guys not to give them those minutes because they've earned it.
Yes.
That's your job to go take those minutes away, which would make us better.
Yep. And that's a life lesson.
Yes.
Right, Coach? Like, nobody's going to go to work and let someone else work and you sit there and still get paid, right?
And parents, allow your kids to go through some hard times and work with them, but allow them to go, because those are life lessons, because not everything's going to go your way. You're not going to get the raise. So you're going to do, well, you're going to show up to the owner and say, hey, my kid didn't get the raise. What's going on here? Exactly. And so it's one of those
100%.
things. And if you're continuously late, you're
not going to have a job.
Yes.
If you're not careful, you're not going to have a job.
And so it's one of those things that you just try to incorporate. I don't know, as a coach, you say, I'm going to teach you life lessons through the game of basketball, but that's just the way it works out. Mm-hmm. And football coaches will tell you the same thing. Baseball coaches will tell you the same thing. Volleyball. So everybody, but that's just the way it works, because not everything's going to go 100% your way. And you have to be able to be resilient and work through those tough times.
Coach, I had a career in the military. I wasn't always, you knew me when I was young.
Yes, I did.
I wasn't always the best student. Now I can honestly say athletics helped me in the military. It helped me be there, be in the right place at the right time, in the right uniform, doing the right thing. The classroom didn't teach me those 3 things, but those 3 things made a successful career for me in the military. And then as I started being successful in the military, then I learned to be a good student in school. When you're a teenager, it's very hard. There's very few true students. They don't, a lot of them don't learn that lesson until later. I was one of them. But athletics helped me get to that point. I get to finish my master's degree this year. And so far 4.0, Lord willing, I'll still keep a 4.0, which is unheard of for Nick Salazar, right? And he's finishing a 2-year program in 12 months, 13 months, which is just unheard of. But if it weren't for sports getting me through the military and helping me on a military career, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now, and on the education side. And the two just they tie so close together. I wish I'd have put the effort in the classroom before that I put on the field, because I didn't when I was young. If we can spread that message and students can realize if you could work as hard as you do on the court in the classroom and keep the discipline that coaches are trying to teach you, the skill sets of being on time, being in the right uniform, doing the right thing, that will help you so much, not just in school, but in life, achieving things, because that's the whole goal, right? In sports, it's achieving a victory. At first, it's achieving making a team. Then it's becoming a starter, achieving that. And then as a team, winning ball games. And then after that, district, and then state. And you, of all people, know, because you have state title, you have district titles, you've had an awesome career. And I can go down a rabbit hole of everything you've done, Coach, but I want to continue talking about or asking questions so I can hear more from you for new coaches. And I'm kind of jumping off to the side now, because for new coaches in today's world, you've seen it for over 20 years, and you've seen the changes in athletes, and you've seen the changes in coaching styles and what's required. What's your best advice for new coaches coming in right now?
My best advice would be understand and know who you are, understand and know your philosophy, and then implement that. With all that being said, what are your non-negotiables as far as... Now, I remember this saying, for whatever reason, reading it, says, don't create rules you cannot enforce. But by the same token, don't enforce so many rules that they're not enforceable. So what are your non-negotiables? Stick to if you can just get less than 5 that are non-negotiables, walking off the court during the game, ain't coming back, disrespecting coaching staff, whatever it is, just realize who you are, what you're willing to put up with, and what line can your coaching staff and your players not cross. But then by that, you have to lead by example. You cannot cross those lines either.
100%.
Because if you do that, then it becomes chaotic. And then once you have chaos, then who's driving the bus? Yep. And then that's where bad things happen. And that's where I would say to incoming coaches, know who you are, know your philosophy. What is it you want to do on the court? In our case, basketball. Do you want to walk the ball up? Do you want to go transition? Do you want to just be a zone? Whatever it is, do that to your best ability, and then be able to relay that information to your coaching staff, and then from there goes to your players.
I like that advice. It reminds me of Bruce Lee saying, I'm not afraid of the man who can kick 1,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the man, and I'm not quoting, this is paraphrased, but I'm afraid of the man who practiced one kick 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And that's the person you have to worry about, who's the expert at something that they do. Not the one that can do all these different things, but they can't do them perfect.
Yes.
But the one who can do it perfect, that's something else. That's something you have to kind of worry about.
And that's where it's one of those things is like, yaffle coaches, football, they want to do the old shotgun. I'm going like, so, and understand the level of competition that you're trying to coach is like, the run pass option. I'm going like, come on, guys. I know it sounds good, but even guys in the NFL struggle with that stuff. So it's like, you want to keep it as simple as possible so that your players don't panic during close situations. You have coaches who, while this is not working, and this is from like quarter to quarter, and want to change it, but we've never practiced that. So how can you expect them to go out and execute it in the second quarter because the game plan for the first quarter wasn't working? So within that, just tweak that a little bit so that you're not, because once a player see you're freaking out, they're going to start freaking out. And then they're going to start losing interest, and they're not going to believe you. And if they don't believe you, then it just becomes helter-skelter out there.
Yes, sir. And we've witnessed that. I've witnessed that in my little time. It's only been a few years in athletics now, outside of coaching. And I've witnessed that. I've witnessed some coaches where they kind of fall apart. The team falls apart, and once you lose command of your ship, everyone's either jumping off, abandoning ship, or it's chaotic. You can't move in a direction together because everyone's going in different directions. So
yeah, and it is, and you got to keep your cool. And as uncomfortable as it gets for you, as calls are being made, maybe they're not going your way, you got to stay calm, because players will pick up on that. If they see you going bananas in the sidelines, they'll start going bananas on the court, and then they're going to say, well, you're doing it. Why can't I do it? And it's like, I get it. And it's like, so you just, there's a lot of little nuances out there that players pick up on that you may not know it, but you're displaying it, and you don't know you're displaying it. And you're like, how come we're struggling? Well, because they see you're struggling, and you're like, okay.
And players pick up on it, like you said. Our actions really speak louder than our words with athletes. They watch everything, and you just said it. The first time you tried to hold them accountable for something that you're not holding yourself accountable for, that they might not call you out, but they lose trust in you at that point, right?
And once that happens, it's hard to get back, and it's one of those things that you want to make sure. And I always tell that to my players, is like, I will lead by example, and then it's up to you guys to get behind me, and then once we get together, we can go ahead and do nice things. But if I'm telling the players to do one thing and then I'm doing the other, it just doesn't collate. It doesn't mesh together for success.
Yeah. And a lot of players blame, well, it's the coach, or it's the type of program they run, or it's their offense, it's their defense, it's their scheme, and they don't fit. Which leads me into something else, Coach. And now that you're rolling out, it's another hot topic. And I think you know where I'm going with this one. Let's bring up the one transfer rule. You being around for 20 years, and with transfers in and out, and seeing and witnessing that, and I have my own stories in my time that I've been around. What do you think about the one-time free transfer rule?
So it can be a good. It's been happening. It's been happening. As well as I do. It's been happening. Although the NMA, for whatever reason, gives blessing to some transfers and denies other transfers, and they don't jive. But that's always been my concern. It's like, how come some transfers are good and some are not? But anyway, parents and players that transfer, because that's the way it goes, are unhappy about something. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you got to be careful of, because you're not only getting the player into whichever program they're going, you're also getting the parent.
Yes.
And so wherever they left, maybe they weren't playing enough. Maybe they didn't make the team. Whatever it is, you're going to be accepting that player, which may not lead to a good chemistry to your team, but then now you're stuck. And so it can be a good thing. I've heard where, big schools, not everybody makes, and so they're going to transfer to a smaller school because then that's a better chance to make the team. Okay, I can buy that. But usually that doesn't happen. Usually what happens is the player parent are unhappy at the program, and that's why they're looking to transfer. So can it be a good thing? I guess. I kind of look at it the same way as the NIL in college. We knew money's being exchanged, albeit under the table, so you can't prove it. Now it opens up, and now coaches are recruiting their own kids after every season because somebody's out there offering more money. And so can it be like that in high school? It can be one time, but you know as well as I do, if that one time is offered, I transferred, and it's not working out for you, you're going to look to transfer, and you know what parents do? They hire attorneys. And now what happens? So it sounds good, but there's also other ways of making other transfers. So I can transfer 2-3 times, and if I hire my attorney, it may happen. I don't know. So when I first heard about it, it's like, wow, that's interesting. Why they're doing that, I don't know. They being the NMAA, but so we're just going to give you a clean slate, transfer if you will. Then after that, no more transfers. Well, you know as well as I do that almost never happens.
Grass isn't always greener on the other side. Yep. It's not always greener on the other side. And I know from the past, I moved my kids from Cleveland to Santa Fe. Like we had that because I moved to Santa Fe. Once I retired from active duty, I moved to Santa Fe and moved the kiddos over. My son was able to play baseball because he didn't out there, but he couldn't run cross country or track. Fine, because he ran the years before. Completely understood. My daughter played JVC team, sub-varsity at Cleveland. She came over to Capital. She had to sit from varsity for a year. So I understood it. But
you probably didn't agree with it.
I didn't. I definitely didn't agree with it. But rules are rules, and I follow the rules, and to a fault.
Yeah.
And so later that year, I see someone transfer from Capital out to another school, and I see them playing the next year. Those were the kind of things that I didn't understand. And looking at this rule, this kind of like makes that feel better for me, thinking if this were around when I moved my kids here, they would have been able to participate in any sports they wanted to, not just the ones they hadn't at Cleveland, which I think would have helped our track team at Capital. I think daughter getting to play varsity, transferring for basketball would have been cool. And I don't remember if she was track too. I can't remember. I don't think so.
But if you would have been the head coach for girls basketball, for example, she would have been eligible right away because you moved over as a head coach. Am I right on that? Because I thought that if you get a head coaching job and you bring your son or daughter, and I'm assuming that in that particular sport, they're eligible right away.
I'm sure she would have been. I mean, you still have to follow the process because when you move, you have to submit your forms and request transfer.
Sure.
And it would still have to be reviewed and approved by NMA's board. But I'm pretty sure that would have happened. But because I was a baseball coach and a football coach and a teacher at the school, none of those things really mattered because there wasn't anything in the system for it. So I think now with the way we're looking at it, in that particular situation, I think this is a really good rule. It helps. You move, your kids go with you, and you're able to have them play and participate right away. Now, hopefully a coach isn't going school to school and taking their kids with them. That's very possible too.
But your scenario, to me, is like not the norm. That's going to be the exception. I think the norm is you live at the same place, but now you're just transferring, or it just happens. And so, could it be a good thing? I hope so. But only time will tell.
I'm 100% with you on that. Time will tell.
Time will tell,
Coach.
Do I agree with it? No. But like I said, sometimes you got to think out of the box, outside the box, and then go from there. And like I said, time will tell if it was a good opportunity, if you will.
Yeah, and if we start seeing athletes following coaches, athletes being recruited more in the open, or even super teams being built, then we know it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
But I guess in a couple of years we'll know. Hopefully it's just hot right now and a lot of transfers happen and it mellows out. But that's the latest. And for anybody else that's looking into this information, we will have more on our website starting next week. NMAA does have the forms out, so we can start that process now. So those that are interested, remember, you do have to transfer to a school first before requesting eligibility. So until you're enrolled with whatever school you're trying to do this with, please do not practice with them. Do not play with them. Don't get your coaches in trouble. Just make sure that, and coaches, this goes for you too, do not play anybody that is not registered at your school, and do not play them until they're cleared by NMAA, because there still is a process. It's not the wild, wild west all of a sudden because there's a new rule. It sounded like it, and a lot of people feel that way, but it really doesn't work that way. Just follow the process. We'll have more information out. We'll try to get a newsletter out by the end of this week, early next week. We'll get that info to everybody else, and we'll see if it works.
And if I'm still correct, though, they have to leave in good standing, though.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. So with that one, Coach, I've talked about everything that's going on in today's world right now we've had because I could talk to you forever. We talk in your office forever, and I apologize, but I really want to transition into your career, and I want to know, what was it like when you first started coaching to where you are right now? What are the biggest differences you see that you've changed as a coach from your first years as an assistant? Let's start with head coach, because head coaching, like, you've done a lot as a head coach.
So because I'm a control freak as far as my program goes, I know what I want. I know how I want it done, and it's going to get done that way. And so I guess to your question was be more flexible in how you interact with today's players. You can't. Ever since COVID hit, and people that I've talked to have heard this message, COVID really hit my program hard because we weren't getting the hard-nosed, committed, hard-working student athlete. We were getting more of the processed, more of the what's the word I'm looking for, where you don't really have to work. Because during COVID, they didn't have to log on. I mean, you could, but you didn't have to show your face. So there were a lot of promotions, not a lot of student athletes. NMA had that 10-game, 12-game season, but you had to practice in pods. And so getting out of that and then coming into where after a couple of years, those like freshmen who are now juniors now were required to go to class, do the work, no more slacking, no more. They had a hard time. Mm-hmm. My student athletes had a hard time. And it's one of those things trying to get through those phases. And I think we were coming toward the end where now we were starting to get back to the old type of capital players that were cut from junior high, who were not played in junior high, who needed a lot of time and a lot of reps on the court. Now we're starting to get those type of players back. But there for a while, it was like we weren't getting that. So I really couldn't hold them accountable just because they weren't buying that anymore. They were like, their interest lay elsewhere. It wasn't basketball. Yep. It was like, trying to get them to go to class and do the work. And I think for the first time ever, we're losing kids to grades. And it's like, and I'm going, parents, where are you guys at? It's like, you get pissed off if I don't play your kid, but it's like, your kid's not going to school. Your kid's not turning in work. I said, where's the help there? So that was tough. But like I said, it seems like we're through that phase now. It seems like we're starting to get more of the traditional capital student athlete now that I think you'll see a change in that.
Awesome. And you're leaving behind a really good young group that's really good. And I've witnessed it over the last 2 years, the growing of this young group. And we've had discussions over the last 2 years. They're young, and the experience is coming. And the cool thing that I've seen is I've never seen any of these guys quit on you in the last 2 years. They've just been battling, and playing till that last whistle and till the clock runs out.
And that's one of the things that when I first came to Capital is that, like I said, we weren't getting the best athletes in the city, but we were getting kids who wanted a chance, and they were willing to take that chance with me and buy what we were selling. And then knowing that despite what the community was saying that we couldn't be successful, in spite of that, we can be successful. We just have to play as a unit, work on that chemistry, believe in each other, play for each other, sacrifice for each other, and get things to happen. And I knew these last 2 years were going to be tough years just because we're young. We're trying to regroup again, set that foundation. And so that's where I said, no, I'll come back and I'll take the hits for these 2 years. And then I want to make sure that when I do leave, I want to leave a good foundation so that we can, hopefully they can start turning it around and find success again, which I think will happen.
And I think you are leaving it with a really good foundation. And from what I see, right, and that's just coming from my eyes, but really excited and really proud of what you're leaving for the next coach who comes in. And I know you ended with 2 years different and hard coaching and bringing up like probably the best coaching you've had to do with kids with less experience. Because let's be honest, when you have more experienced athletes, I should say, it's a little easier.
Sure.
And you've done that. But with knowing where you are right now and looking back, what is one of the best things or best memories you have as a coach at Capitol High School?
You know what sticks to my mind, and I really haven't done that a lot, just look back on my career, but just seeing the joy and the success of student athletes who never thought they could. You know, and just taking a step back and just watching and enjoy the hard work that they went through to get the success that they did. It leaves an impression on me because it just tells me that hard work does pay off. Yeah. You just have to go through the hard work, and then everything else will fall in place. Hard work,
that means hard times. Hard times create hard men make success and easier times later on. You know?
So, and it's so funny because when I came back, I think it was in 14, and I got Salazar to come with me. Those 5 o'clock practices were like brutal, but it was so funny though because as players graduated, they came back. Going to school was easy because morning they're used to it. Getting up, going to work early, it was easy because they were used to it. Yeah. So coming back and them telling me those stories is like, that's what it's all about.
Awesome. Well, now that you're making your exit, Coach, where do you see New Mexico basketball as a whole right now? How does it look when you're looking at it?
You know, it seems like it's getting a lot better. You know, players are starting to get better. They're understanding that they got to put the time in. The video games just don't make you better. You got to in our case, you got to be on the court. You got to be playing. But there's also a level of understanding that, and I'll break it up this way. AAU basketball is good because they're playing, but it can be bad because there's no structure. Okay. And then when they get back to the school section environment, you may have players coming back who have had the freedom in AAU that you have to break because that's not how that type of freedom would be conducive to school success because everybody has to have a role and you have to accept that role. And sometimes you can't do harm by playing AAU because you're playing, but it's kind of the attitude that will do harm back at your school because like, I didn't have to do this. What do you mean I have to play defense? What do you mean I have to go for loose balls? What do you mean I have to go get rebounds? It's like, I never had to do. And so it's one of those things like, yeah, play, but understand what it's all about. And then when it comes down to your school team, it's just going to be a different level. And so that can make or break you. So we'll see.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Coach, for your wisdom, sharing your experiences with us today. Very happy that you were able to join us and give us, a little bit of those knowledge nuggets that you've had. Before you go today, though, is there anything you want to give out, like that one last piece of gold nugget of knowledge and wisdom for today's athlete and today's coach?
The only thing I would do as far as advice is tell the student athletes, time is precious while you have it. 4 years go by fast. Commit yourself to whatever it is you want to do for 4 years because before you know it, you're going to graduate. And don't ever graduate hoping I have my 4 years back. Do it while you can. Don't waste it. And you will appreciate that later on in life. You may not appreciate it now, but you will regret not putting in the time, the effort, the commitment, the passion into whatever sport you're doing. Do it for 4 years. Graduate and never say, I wish I could do it over again.
There you have it, folks. Wisdom from our legend, Coach Gomez. And you laugh about it, Coach, but I mean, you've been doing it for so long, and I've known you since I was in high school. I'm just very proud of the career you've had and very grateful that I've had this time to talk to you and that I even got to coach and be side by side with you at Capitol High School, coaching alongside you in another sport and just seeing the hard work that you put in and the career that you've done. Just, I couldn't be more proud and more thankful for what you've done for this community. Just real quick, folks, Coach Gomez, we love him. We know we're going to see him at all the games still and see him out and about. Might even pay him a visit at his garden, see how he's doing in retirement life from coaching. I hear you have a beautiful garden and you spend a lot of time on it.
I do. In fact, I have my shirt on because I'm going to go back and do some weed cutting and so on and so forth. But, and this happened by mistake, I guess, real quick, because the season's loud. Mm-hmm. The fans, the practices, and so the garden time is just the me time, my alone time, just where I get to think, go get lost in thought, whatever it is. And then ultimately you still have to do it because the garden doesn't cut itself. The garden doesn't take care of itself. So, I enjoy it.
Awesome. And coaches, there's your little wisdom nugget for you to take back with you. Make sure you have a little bit of me time, whatever it may be. Coach's is his garden.
Yeah.
You got to find yours, and that'll help you find the peace because that obviously is where you find peace.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, spending some time with us. Thank you for listening to us about our community partnership program. We're very excited about it. As Coach said earlier, it does help the coaches. It helps our programs. For anyone interested, please reach out to our website. Send us an email, give us a call. My phone number's on the website. My email's there. More than happy to answer any questions about the Community Partnership Program. We look forward to seeing you in your garden and seeing all of you again in our next episode. Thank you. Have a blessed day.